What motivates aggressive behavior? Social psychologists are very interested in the causes of aggressive behavior and the driving forces or motives behind it. The general aggression model attempts to identify the factors within the aggressor and the situation that drive their behavior, and then explain how these factors interact to produce aggression. Before an aggressor aggresses, there are a number of input variables that interact to determine their internal state. These inputs include aversive experiences like frustration, provocation, and even hot weather. Other input variables are situational cues, such as the presence of guns and exposure to TV violence, as well as individual differences like high levels of hostility, low levels of empathy, and permissive attitudes about aggression. These inputs motivate aggression through three different routes: negative feelings, physiological and psychological arousal, and aggressive thoughts. Then the aggressor's affect, arousal, and cognitions impact their attributions, evaluations, and decisions about their social environment. The result of this interaction is aggressive behavior. As we can see from the figure, this model says the roots of aggression lie within the individual and the social context. Social psychologists are interested in predicting who will aggress and in which situations, so that proactive steps can be taken before anyone gets hurt. Let's explore some of these variables in more detail. One root cause of aggression is frustration. The frustration-aggression hypothesis says aggression is caused by the blocking or frustrating of one's efforts to reach a goal. In other words, when something gets in our way, we're motivated to aggress against it. Aggression, then, is cathartic. It releases excess frustration. As Freud believed, it's best to get it off your chest. But this is not possible in every situation, either because the source of the frustration is not available or because it isn't socially acceptable to behave aggressively toward it. And so we displace our drive to aggress to a more socially acceptable substitute. One of the most common examples is when we are frustrated by a bad day at school or work, we may behave more aggressively than normal toward our loved ones or pets at home. Another root cause of aggression is negative affect stemming from unpleasant experiences. Examples include excessive noise, crowded spaces, physical pain, jealousy, bad odors, insults, hot weather, threatened self-esteem, social rejection, a loss or failure, and, as you just learned, frustration. All these stimuli can provoke negative feelings and increase the probability of aggression. One of these is particularly interesting: hot weather. This figure depicts the results of multiple studies done by multiple authors. They examine the percentage of various aggressive acts that occur in each of the 4 seasons. As you can see, the greatest percentage of aggressive acts occurs in the summer months, during the warmest part of the year when people are out and about, interacting with one another. The third root cause is intense physiological and psychological arousal, like increased heart rate, perspiration, or blood pressure. A variety of stimuli can cause intense arousal, including physical exercise, noise, violent movies, arousing music, heat, and even pornography. Excitation transfer occurs when the arousal created by one stimulus intensifies our emotional response to a second stimulus. While in this state, we are more likely to experience aggressive thoughts, feelings, and emotions in response to a second stimulus. Imagine you just watched a violent movie, stimulus 1, and then someone bumps into you on the way out of the theater, stimulus 2. The violent movies serve as a primer. The person who bumps into you intensifies your existing motive to aggress. Another root cause is aggressive thoughts or cognitions, and there are 2 broad categories for us to consider. Automatic cognitions come to mind automatically, without effort, and are usually activated by situational cues that we associate with aggression. These associations vary from person to person. What you associate with aggression differs from what I associate with aggression, a difference you'll explore in more detail later in this lecture. For now, pause this video and take a moment to jot down some of the things in your environment that you associate with aggression. On many lists is weapons, like guns, knives, even chainsaws. The weapons effect is a controversial idea. Some research suggests that when people are exposed to a weapon, even just a picture of a gun, they are more likely to behave aggressively later than people who are not exposed to weapons. Deliberate cognitions, on the other hand, are not automatic. They are intentional, and we chose to think these thoughts. We might consider the costs of an aggressive behavior before expressing it, or we might consider the social norms it violates. We also think about motives, our own and those of other people. If we believe the other party intended to harm us, It will change how we think about the situation and whether we decide to respond with aggression. Some people fall prey to the hostile attribution bias. Across situations, they have a tendency to think other people are aggressive and won't hurt them, an assumption that increases the likelihood that they too will behave aggressively. The fifth and final root cause of aggression is a lack of self-control. There are a number of things that can impair our ability to regulate ourselves. For instance, high physiological and psychological arousal make it difficult to think clearly in any given moment. Alcohol has a similar effect on the human brain. It reduces anxiety and narrows the focus of our attention, leading us to make poor decisions. A third cause of low self-control is called angry rumination. This is when a person repeatedly thinks about an event that made them angry. Thinking about an argument you had with a friend for several hours or even days, for instance. This kind of obsessive thinking reduces self-control by maintaining the initial arousal and narrowing the person's focus. Keep in mind that many aggressors are driven by more than one factor. The more factors at play, the stronger the drive to aggress. In the next video, you'll learn more about the root causes of aggression.